What's going on, guys? Today in this video, we're going over our top 24 running back rankings updated version. Let's get into it.
All right, and starting us off, once again, Jahmyr Gibbs is coming in as our RB1. And last year, we saw Jahmyr Gibbs average over 20 points per game, finishing as the RB3. And back in 2024 as well, he actually finished as the RB1 with that monster week 18. And now there is no David Montgomery in this offense. They traded him in the offseason to the Texans, and they signed Isaiah Pacheco as their backup. So you don't have to worry about a vulture anymore. Dan Campbell already came out and said Jahmyr Gibbs will be the workhorse for this offense, and they have the easiest schedule in the league. And when they won, the Lions were winning games and won last year. Jahmyr Gibbs averaged almost 29 points per game, so that's something I expect to see. Not 29 points per game, but I expect him to win a lot more than they did last year, and I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to be the number one overall running back.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, they got rid of Dave Montgomery, and in games without Dave Montgomery, we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs completely go off and play his best football as we saw in the 2024 season.
Yeah, he's definitely our number one overall pick and best running back in 2026.
All right, but the very close second, as we all know, Bijan Robinson is still our RB2.
And now Bijan Robinson, this guy had almost 2,300 total yards last year, but the reason why we have Gibbs a little higher is that touchdown up. He had a lot more touchdown upside than Bijan as he's in a completely better offense. But overall, as a player, I think Bijan's the better player, but the situation favors Gibbs in a little bit of a better way. But there's nothing to think wrong about Robinson. If you want to take him one, be my guest. This guy's a 1,500-yard rusher and one of the best receiving backs in all of football. I mean, last season we saw him eclipse 800 rushing yards. His past two seasons, he had about half of that. So we saw him take a much better step, and now it's the fancy calling plays. It'll be a much smoother and better offense. And right now with Bijan Robinson, the sky is truly the limit with him, as he was his first team All Pro for the first time, and I expect a few more to his name.
I mean, yeah, if you had Bijan as your RB1, I wouldn't hold it against you. I mean, I think these two are easily the number one and number two picks in fantasy this year. So, I mean, if you like Bijan more than Gibbs, I have nothing to hold against you. I think Bijan's a great player as well. He had over almost 2,300 in total yards last year. So, the only thing, like you said, is I just think the Lions' offense is much better, and it's a lot more better. It's a better situation for touchdowns, and that's really the main thing with Gibbs. I mean, he had over 20 touchdowns in 2024, 18 last year, and we haven't really seen that from Bijan. But with no Algier now, you can definitely see an uptick in touchdowns.
Yeah, 100%. That is the deal breaker. I think is the offense of that each running back's in, and I definitely trust the Lions' offense way more than the QB battled out Falcons offense.
And yeah, you made a great point about no Algier. I didn't bring that up without Algier and Robinson only had 11 total touchdowns last year. We expect that number to go way up without Algier taking a lot of touchdowns away from Robinson. As Algier was a solid goal line back throughout his career, and now with Atlanta, he signed away. Should be interesting now.
And starting off our A tier, we got Christian McCaffrey.
So CMC has moved up in our rankings to RB3. We just feel like, even though it's such a massive risk, this guy has the highest ceiling out of every single player in this sport for sure. He has the 400 touch curse in him right now, but doesn't matter. He averaged over 24.51 games last season. Even with an inefficient running season on the ground, he had less than 4 yards per carry at 3.9. The injury risk is there, but if it returns on you, if it gets you that 20 plus points per game rating out of him, it's unbelievable. Getting him as your RB3 is a steal. If he plays really well, he could finish RB1 for sure.
I mean, he is the highest risk player in all of fantasy this year, but it definitely can be worth it. We saw him average over almost 25 points per game last year, and if he's healthy, there should be no reason why he can't do that again.
I mean, I'm not one to think about this 400 plus touch curse because you don't play fantasy football to make the playoffs. You play fantasy football to win your league and take home the trophy. A guy like Christian McCaffrey, he plays 17 games for you. You will take home the trophy. Better chance than anybody else in the first round. Realistically, if people didn't play fantasy football scared, he was the number one running back, number one pick. But
I'll say this. Sorry to cut you off, John, but you can't win your league in your first round, but you sure as hell can lose it in the first round. And that's the downside of taking CMC. But there's always that insane high risk high reward to him.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
All right, and moving on, our RB4 now is Ashton Genty. And I really do like Genty this year. I do think that we're kind of going to see that jump that Gibbs and Bijan took in year two, where they both ended as the top two RBs that year in fantasy. So I am really high on Genty, and they did just sign Tyler Linderbaum this offseason. And with whoever's the quarterback between Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza, it should be Kirk to start the year at least. It's definitely an improvement compared to how Gino played last year. And of course, Clint Kubiak now is the head coach. So I do just expect an overall better offense for this Raiders team, and Genty should definitely score more touchdowns and definitely be more efficient than he was last year.
100% should be way more efficient. I mean, we saw Genty do a little bit of everything last year. He caught the ball and played solid in the running game, but the yards per carry wasn't there. It was only 3.7, and he didn't go over 1,000 yards in 17 games, but that offensive line was terrible. It was terrible. But with Genty, you're going to get a solid amount of targets. I expect his targets to go about the 90 to 100. Last year was at 73. I expect that to go a little higher as his offense is going to be better passing with better quarterback play, hopefully. And yeah, with Genty, I think these efficiencies should go up, and that will help him finish as a top five running back. I think his floor is inside the top 10, as we saw last year. I think that'll be his worst season last season, and he was about RB11, RB10, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure about that. So his floor was last year, and I expect a big jump.
All right, and our next player, our RB5, is Jonathan Taylor.
And now with Taylor, as we saw from last season, from weeks 1 to 13, he was the best running back in football, and he put his name up in MVP votes they were talking about in the beginning of the season. He averaged 25.7 points per game. He went absolutely nuts. But after that injury to Jones in Jacksonville, we saw weeks 14 through 18, he was horrible after he tore his Achilles. But right now, I think if JT keeps falling in drafts with the concern of the health of Daniel Jones, I think there's not a doubt that Jonathan Taylor could put together a great fantasy season as long as he stays healthy. I mean, I'm not sure if his contract is up next year. It might be. So he's kind of playing with the chip on his shoulder again this year. But he had career highs at about everything except rushing yards. In the receiving game, he had his best receiving season we've seen as a pro, and I expect that to get even better as throughout they haven't added any more competition. But I truly expect him to be a bell cow again, as we've seen, and this offense should take a. I think the offense will take a step back, but this offense really relies on the health of Jonathan Taylor and the health of Daniel Jones.
For another thing with receptions is I do expect we see even more than last year, and it has another career year receiving wise because Jones, coming off that Achilles tear, he probably won't be able to run as well as he did in years past, especially last year. So you should definitely look for that check down option more, and not a bad option checking the ball down to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, and our RB6 is Saquon Barkley.
So Saquon Barkley had a rough season in 2025, but we definitely expect the Eagles to go back what worked in 2024 when Saquon ran for over 2,000 yards, and it was insane that year. With AJ Brown gone, it's another mouth that's gone, and I think that can definitely help Saquon, and they're going to go back to what helped them win and have a great season in 2024 when their offense was above that league median.
Yeah, I think that they have to run the ball more. I mean, you want to take the ball out of Hurts' hands as much as you can. I feel like, especially with how bad he looked last year. Why wouldn't you want to run the ball to Saquon, especially if your O line improves it compared to where it played last year, where it did not play anywhere close to how it did back in 2024.
I mean, this offensive line struggled through a lot of injuries last season. Like Dickerson was hurt, Lane Johnson was hurt. About that whole line was banged up throughout the entire season. No one looked healthy. No one looked good. And now with the new play caller calling, I truly expect this offense to really open up a lot better. Last year, what we saw from Philly was a complete mess. I don't think that happens again. And I think we see a little bit better quarterback play from Jalen Hurts because the play calling, like I said, I'll say it again, was just so bad. It was kind of really hard to thrive in that system. And what we saw from Saquon is his floor in Philly. It wasn't it wasn't good, but it wasn't the Saquon we know. But put together at the value you're getting him right now, I think it's fantastic with Saquon.
Yeah, I do think it's a great spot for a bounce back season for Saquon here.
100%.
For sure.
All right, and our RB7 is James Cook. And I mean, last year, everyone thought James Cook touchdowns were going to drop, but I mean, he did drop slightly, but only down to 14. My thing with James Cook is I think last year was the best year of his career, and he only averaged 18 points per game. You can't expect much more anymore. They love Ty Johnson on third downs. James Cook is a great receiving back, don't get me wrong, but they just don't like using him there. And, there's always going to be Josh Allen on the goal line getting those QB sneaks and whatnot. So I don't see how it's worth taking James Cook above any of these guys when he had his best season of his career, led the league in rushing yards last year, and only averaged 18 points per game. I literally think that's a ceiling, and he's never going to go higher than that.
In a way, like you said about James Cook, we saw him be a good receiving back in 2023. He almost had 500 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, and 44 receptions. He was a stud running back in the receiving game. But now we've seen over the past 2 seasons, it's declined totally in receiving. But the whole offense is going to stay the exact same. Sure, they added DJ Moore, but still the same offense, same play calling. Yeah, sure, will they use DJ Moore? Yeah, they will. I don't think DJ Moore is going to be that good or as good as people expect him to be. But this offense will still be the exact same with the 3 running backs rotating in, and you're not going to see much of a receiving role out of James Cook. You're going to see a lot of Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. But don't get me wrong, James Cook was he led the league in rushing yards. He was one of the most efficient running backs in the league last year, and I expect that to be the exact same running behind a good Buffalo Bills offensive line.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You're getting a really talented running back in such a great offense. It really can't go that wrong. His ceiling is definitely capped. That floor is better than anyone else in the league.
All right, and our RB8, jumping up a spot from last rankings, is Devon Achane.
So Devon Chain's a guy now that is I'm kind of looked at differently than I have in before. Last season he was a stud, averaging over 20 fantasy points per game, but the situation did change. Without McDaniels, totally new offense, new quarterback, two is gone. It's Malik Willis now. But with the he's gonna lose some receiving yards in a way, people are saying with the running quarterback. But I think he's the best playmaker on this team, and it's not even close. Right? Like I think they're going to get the ball in his hands as much as they possibly can in the receiving game. Like people are thinking, oh no, Willis isn't going to check it down. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to throw the ball to him. I think that this new Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator is going to really put an emphasis to get the ball in A Chain's hands as much as possible. Where I wouldn't put it past him that there's a chance he could lead the league in touches next year. That's one of my hot takes. But I think that Devon A Chain can really pay off at his ADP where he's going in the middle of the second round. Where I would take him a little higher than that, but that's for another video. But I think getting him at a RB8 is pretty solid for right now in our rankings.
I'm not the biggest fan of Achane, but his situation really does remind me of 2019 Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers when he averaged 29 points per game. He was literally the only player in that offense, and they just fed him the ball. He had over 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards, and it really does remind me of that situation. And I am not the highest on Achane, but he definitely could be fed the rock. He could still get all the receptions in the world, even with Malik Willis at quarterback. It still shouldn't matter. I don't think he's the only player in that offense. I still think they're going to scheme basically everything for him. The only thing is, I just don't think you're going to see as many long rushes as we've seen in the past. I mean, there's nothing else to worry about. There's going to be stacked boxes. So I think his efficiency is going to take a drop, but he's still going to touch the ball more, possibly more than anyone else in the league.
You're always going to get that home run. No matter what game, you'll get that home run out of Devon Achane. But I think he'll have a solid enough floor to be a mid RB1 to a low end RB1, maybe even a high end RB1 if you hit on that pick.
Yeah, my initial thoughts on A-Chain were low. They've gotten a little higher as the offseason has gone. But, I mean, you just look at that depth chart. There's literally nothing to worry about except that one dude. That receiving room, the tight end, it's terrible. Even the defense is not good. This team is not going to score touchdowns. It's going to cap his upside with touchdowns. That's my biggest problem. Great player. He's going to get the touches. He is the guy in Miami. But just the offense is the thing that scares me the most.
All right, and our last player in A tier, our RB9 is Amarian Hampton.
And so, Amarian Hampton this year, we are really high in Hampton. This offense is going to be insane. With Mike McDaniel now, we know how good Justin Herbert can be. We got Joe Alt's back. Rashawn Slater's back. The offense is as good as it possibly can be. I think this is going to be a top 5 offense in the NFL. And Hampton is the guy in the backfield. He is the number one guy in the backfield by far. And Hampton can definitely, the touchdowns are going to be Hampton's biggest strength, I think. compared to A-Chain, compared to Hampton, these guys are so similar. But the thing that is so different is the offense that they're in. Hampton's going to get you the touchdowns. A-Chain will get you the touches, but I don't know about the touchdowns, you know?
My thing for me is I'm almost certain that at least one of Keaton Mitchell or Kamani Vidal are going to get touches in this offense. I mean, Kamani Vidal was pretty solid last year when he was filling in for HN and then Keaton, or not HN, for Hampton. And then Keaton Mitchell, once McDaniel signed, was really brought in. And he's more of that prototype that McDaniel likes, that fast, skinny guy, can break off the big run for you. But I really do think Hampton's going to excel in this offense. Hampton is more of that straight line guy and not that runner that's going to go side by side and get past a bunch of defenders. If he has that big hole and he can just run straight through it, he's going to have a big play. And I do expect to see a lot of that this year from him.
You're drafting Hampton, a running back, and what we see as a projected top 10, top 5 offense. And you know for sure he's getting the goal line work as a Vidal and Mitchell. I don't think they'll have a part of the goal line role. Sure, they will take a little bit receiving away, I think, but without a doubt, top 5, top 10 offense, running back that's going to get a lot of touches. Love that.
I mean, in 2023, we saw Miami Dolphins offense running back room score 32 touchdowns, which was Raheem Mostert, 31 years old, by the way, scored 21 touchdowns, and then A-Chain, his rookie year, scored 11. So, I mean, Hampton, he's not going to get as many touches as these other guys, but that touchdown upside is unmatched, unlike no other.
I mean, McDaniel has been a factory for fantasy running backs. He's built them. We saw is Jeff Wilson, like you said, Mostert, A-Chain for the past 3 seasons. He's just built fantasy running backs, and be my guest. Take him where you want. RB9, perfect spot for him.
All right, and starting off our B tier, we got Chase Brown as our RB10. And in 14 games that Chase Brown and Joe Burrow have played together fully healthy, Chase Brown has averaged over 21 points per game. So this is a great spot of getting Chase Brown as an RB10, I would say. And I'd expect Chase Brown to be great in every game that Joe Burrow is healthy. And that's really the only problem is if Joe Burrow is going to be healthy. But we saw him be great once again once Joe Flacco became the QB at the end of last year. So my main thing is that I don't think Chase Brown is as good as a real-life running back or as any of these guys. He doesn't have the explosive plays. It's just a situation. He's going to get receptions from Burrow or Flacco, whoever the quarterback is, and he's going to score touchdowns, and that accumulates to fantasy points.
100%, and he continues to win the offseason every single year. Another straight offseason where they don't add any new competition to this backfield. It's going to be the exact same in 2026, and that's why he's a perfect spot here at 10.
Yeah, really no change and nothing you can fault and drop him down in your rankings for. So perfect spot for Chase Brown. That upside is amazing on that elite offense.
Okay, and our RB11 is the exception, Derrick Henry.
100%, baby. Derrick Henry, yet again, was second in rushing yards last year. Almost got the crown last year yet again, but this guy just keeps aging like fine wine. The only problem that's going to hurt Derrick Henry is that at some point he's got to slow down. And what year is it going to be? I don't think it's going to be 2026. Yet again, great offense. Him and Lamar play absolutely well together. Even with Tyler Huntley, he started playing better. What hurt him last year is playing with Cooper Rush. That was terrible. But yet again, this guy will have the most touchdowns in the league. Vegas loves him this year. Projecting him over 1,300 rushing yards this season. Love it.
Yeah, the only thing with Henry that I don't like is the loss of Linderbaum and Pat Ricard. Those really are 2 big losses for this offense, especially rushing wise. But I think as long as Lamar is healthy, Henry's going to be great, and he's going to have that touchdown upside. But, he's a beast at the goal line, so I do think it's a good spot for him at RB11, and of course he has the upside to finish as a top 5 running back. All right, our RB12 is Kenneth Walker.
So Kenneth Walker being the new chief now in this Patrick Mahomes-led offense, I'm super excited for him. But his biggest flaw, his ability to stay in the field. That is the thing that would give me a red flag for him, which might take me off my draft list. But, I mean, this guy's touchdown upside is elite. As I said, this offense is so good. His ceiling is as high as anyone can be. It's just that injury. If he can sustain that full workload, he can be a dog, and he could finish top 3. You never know.
Yeah, and the last time Patrick Mahomes had an RB just as good as Kenneth Walker was Kareem Hunt, and he averaged over 20 20 points per game back in 2018. So I do think this is a great situation, much better than it was last year in Seattle, and there's no one behind him, and I think this is a great spot for Kenneth Walker here. All right, and our RB13 finishing off B tier is Josh Jacobs, and Jacobs really has been great in his first 2 seasons with the Packers, and he's really been a touchdown machine, scoring 14 plus touchdowns each year, I believe. So I really do think that Jacobs in this spot, he's going much later because of the legal stuff going on. And I think you're getting him at great value now because of that. And he really is a low end RB1 for your team. He's safe floor and does have the upside to be a top 5 guy. I believe so too.
Yeah, Jacobs was going to he was on his way to have his second great season in Green Bay, but that injury at the PCL wound up hurting him the last 2 healthy games he played, not healthy, but the last 2 games he played, he put up really bad numbers and then wound up missing a couple games. But Jacobs is a guy that I like here in this tier. Good RB1 for your fantasy teams, and his touchdown should stay the same, as well as the usage.
If you pair a guy like Josh Jacobs in that low RB1 tier, super high RB2 tier, with one of those elite receivers like the guys from Chase to like Amon Ra, those top 4 guys, I feel like that's a great 1-2 punch to your team and a great 2-round start for your fantasy team in 2026.
All right. And starting off our C tier, we got Javonte Williams as our RB14.
Here's a guy that more and more I look into, the more I like. Javonte Williams is a guy in Dallas right now who are projected to have yet again a top 5, top 10 offense. And this guy ran for over 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, and caught the ball a decent amount. I don't want to say a lot. He had 35 receptions, about 150 receiving yards. He wasn't the best pass catching running back, but he's also another offseason winner who they didn't add any competition to the backfield. It's going to stay all the same. And you're getting a running back who was solid on the ground last year, 4.8 yards per carry, almost in the 5 range, runs behind a good offensive line in a top offense. Be my guest, RB14, perfect rating for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this Cowboys team really is a perfect situation for Javonte, and Javonte keeps himself on the field on third downs. He's one of the best pass blockers in the league, I'd say, out of running back. So he really does keep his way on the field for a full workhorse role, and he's going to get receptions too, as we saw last year. He actually had a decent amount, even though it's not the best of his game. But they have no one behind them. They have no one behind them who can do it. So he's going to be on the field for everything.
We're talking about an elite offense here with 2 receivers that are arguably top 10 in the NFL, probably top 10 in the NFL. So that'll get them on the goal line a lot. He's going to score those touchdowns. A trend with these top 15 guys is that they're going to get in the end zone. And I mean, that's definitely the case with Javonte Williams here.
All right, and our RB15 is Breece Hall.
So Breece Hall, we know what Breece Hall can do. We saw him back in 2023 when Breece Hall averaged over 15 points per game. And I feel like this year he can definitely come back to that range, in that 15 points per game range. We know with Geno Smith now. I think Geno Smith is probably one of the best quarterbacks he's played with in his career. We know Zach Wilson. Aaron Rodgers was not the Aaron Rodgers we know. So I mean, Geno Smith's going to throw the ball. I think he's going to elevate this offense a little more. We could see him getting a lot of receptions in the backfield. We saw how Geno threw to Genti a lot last year. I think he had over 50 receptions. And a couple years ago to Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker had around like 40 receptions. So, yeah, I mean, this offense is getting better. We see with Omar Cooper now, Kenyon Sadiq. I feel like Breece he definitely is going to be better than last year, and he can definitely finish in that top 12 RB1 range for your fantasy team.
I don't think it's ever been a talent problem with Breece. I mean, we've saw him be drafted in the top 5 in the first round back in 2024. I mean, I really just think it's a situation. He's never really been able to consistently score touchdowns, and I don't know if that's going to change much here. I don't know if the Jets' offense is going to be really improved in real life. I do think it'll be good receiving-wise for fantasy, which is a plus for Breece because he's a great receiving back. But there has been talks about Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen being used, but they said that last year too, and they weren't used much, I'd say. So I do like Breece in this range. I think it's a pretty solid pick here, especially as your RB2. I would like it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing about Braylon Allen last year is he also got hurt in week 4. So that kind of helped Breece out in the short yardage situation where he had a lot more snaps than kind of expected him to play. But like I said, I need the receiving numbers to go up again for Breece Hall. In 2023, 2024, we saw Breece Hall go over 50-plus receptions. Last season, it went down to 36. We're going to need a lot more receiving volume out of Breece Hall to really go up this list, and I need to see that more as training camp goes on, as they want to use Breece more receiving back role. As we know, that's where he can thrive in.
All right, and our RB16 is Kyron Williams, and this Rams offense is going to be so good. So no matter what you think is going to happen between him and Corum, Kyron is going to score touchdowns. But it definitely does cap his upside, though. I do think Corum is going to be. I think they're going to be pretty close to a 50-50 split, which definitely does worry me. So you can't expect upside like you saw back in 2023 and 2024 when he was basically a first round pick at those times. So it definitely makes sense why he's going more towards the middle of the third round, towards the end. But I do still think it's definitely a safe floor pick as your RB2 here.
Yeah, you nailed that. You're not gonna see the guy that played 100% of snaps in 2023, 2024. You're gonna have Blake Corum who's gonna play a role, like you said, and they're gonna go drive for drive. But it's projected number one overall offense. They're taking a running back there. It's got a safe floor, very very safe floor.
All right, and finishing off the seats here, we got Jeremiah Love as our RB17.
And now with Love, third overall pick this year's draft. We've seen RBs taken in the first round. Haven't finished that high, but the value you're getting on Love now, we've seen him fall down to the third round in a lot of drafts. I think is such great value. He was a great pass catching back, great running back in college. The only thing is this is a situation with this team. They got Connor, Algier, and Benson. I don't think Benson is a threat at all. Algier they paid big money to, and Connor is technically their guy for the past couple seasons. As we saw Hackett the other day say something concerning about be excited for James Connor. I mean, that's not what you want to hear if we're looking at Jeremiah Love this season, but I'm talking about the value here with Jeremiah Love. Middle of the third round is perfect value for him, and I wouldn't be opposed to taking him there at all. Perfect value.
Yeah, I do think if you can get him in the third round of drafts, I think that's a really good spot. I mean, we've seen these guys that have drafted really highly, like Genty and Bijan, even though they haven't a great rookie years, they still have finished as top 12 options. But that might more just be because they played all 17 games. But if Jeremiah Love can play all 17 games, he could definitely finish the top 12 back. I mean, the situation, yeah, it sucks. I mean, this Cardinals offense is going to be terrible. It's really going to be only relied on in garbage time, but that is kind of good for Love because he was a great receiving back in college, and he can definitely excel there and get you some garbage time receptions late in these games.
I like that point about the garbage time.
Yeah, I just hate this running back room, to be honest. I hate the crowdedness. I just what what Nathaniel Hackett said the other day really just ticks me off. And it gets me scared for a guy like Love, where you know how talented this guy is. And then we see him, oh, I'm really excited for James Conner. Like, come on, man. Like, we see guys like Connor, Algier, and Benton in this room too. And you're talking about, and you're saying that just scares me. And he also, another thing, he goes, yeah, Jeremiah Love, he's definitely a rookie. Like, come on, like that definitely hurts his value for me. I know it's training camp news; you can't really overreact to it, but when a coach says something like that, you got to pay attention to that.
And before we move on, Jeremiah Love, I think there's a chance that Trey Benson could get traded by the end of camp as one of those running backs. As we see, running back goes down, a guy get traded. That's one of my hot takes, but
Hope so.
see.
All right, and starting off our last tier, the D tier, we got Cam Scatabo as our RB18.
So Scadaboo, as we know, last year he had a very solid year last year. If you look at his game log, uh, he would have what's it called? He was averaging 16 points per game last year. That would have been good for the RB9. So we see with a new staff with Jim Harbaugh, a very improved offense, where Malik Neighbors might be coming back week one, which is something that we would love to hear and love to see for this Giants offense. And Scadabo, if he stays healthy, he can really be that dog, finish in your top 12, finishes in RB1. And I would love to see that for him. Love the player. He's a great dude. Insanely strong. Very good in that backfield for the Giants. And I mean, his upside's pretty high. But you just got to stay healthy. That's it.
He looked really good in those first 6 games before he got hurt. He looked really good as the RB1. He took Tyron Tracy's role pretty quickly, and once Tyron Tracy got hurt and came back, he never looked like Tracy was getting it back. So and Scadabo actually looked like a pretty good receiver too. So I do think you're getting him at pretty good value in that fourth round area, and I do think Scadabo's in for a pretty big year if he can stay healthy. All right, and our RB19 is Trevion Henderson, who honestly, if you talk to people and just listen to them and didn't know anything about Trevion Henderson last year, you would think he had the worst rookie season ever. But he had over 1,100 yards in total and over 10 touchdowns, and that's pretty solid for a rookie running back, especially who was in a timeshare. Didn't get much play time to really end at the end of the year. So I think coming into year two, if Henderson can improve as a pass blocker and can keep and stay on the field on third downs, we know Josh McDaniels has loved getting the ball to these smaller running backs in the receiving game. And I do think that's something we can see from Henderson more this year and take a lot more playing time away from Rondre Stevenson, who has had fumble issues throughout his whole career.
The thing with Henderson is that he had such high expectations after the preseason of how well he played, and people were taking him as early as the third round, even the fourth round in some drafts. And he wound up finishing as the RB21, which kind of hurt him. But right now, RB19 is the perfect spot for him. And I think, yes, he will play more, and I think he'll play better as well. And I think RB19, yeah, is perfect for him right now. Could even go higher.
And I think another main thing last year was that he just didn't have any of the coaches' trust. It really took Ramondre Stevenson to fumble 3 times in the first 5 weeks, and for Antonio Gibson to tear his ACL, for him to honestly start getting some real playing time. So I just think that's another thing, a full offseason with the coaching staff. I really do think it's going to help him succeed here. All right, now RB20 is David Montgomery.
Now with Montgomery is now he's got this backfield to himself. He's not going to compete with Jameer Gibbs. Sure, Buddy Marks is there. He'll take away some receiving, but you'll have the early downs and goal line with Dave Montgomery. My only concern with Dave Montgomery is, yes, age, but this offensive line kind of concerns me a little bit. He ran behind one of the better offensive lines throughout Detroit for the first 3 years, but last year wasn't the best offensive line in Detroit. But Dave Montgomery still ran well, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. But the Houston offensive line still scares me, and the offense still scares me a little bit. But as a bell cow, the sky really is the limit with Dave Montgomery here, and I hope that he can put together a solid season as Houston's RB1.
Yeah, he's going to look more like he did in the Chicago days. He's going to be way less efficient, I think, behind this Texans line now, coming from when the Lions' offensive line had a top 5 line 2 out of the 3 years he was there. So I definitely do think he's going to look more like how he was in Chicago, and hopefully he can become more of a receiving back, because I do think he's actually a really underrated receiving back. And I don't know if Woody Marks is really that good. I mean, I do expect Woody Marks to be in the field on third downs, but really that's it. I don't think he's going to take any goal line work or real touches away.
Yeah, and in 2020, we saw him have 50-plus receptions, and he played very well as a receiver. I think that year he finishes the RB4, if I'm not mistaken, in 2020.
Yeah, he did.
As we know, volume is king, and it always will be king.
All right, our RB21 is Travis Etienne.
So Etienne had a great year last year, averaging a little under 15 points per game with the great Jacksonville Jaguars offense. He finishes the RB14 last year, which is pretty great for him. Now entering New Orleans, we see he's in a backfield with Alvin Kamara, which, I mean, Kamara is aging, but he's still Alvin Kamara. I still think he's going to have a role in this offense. The offense isn't that good. The Saints offense, it definitely got better from last year, but it's not as good as the Jaguars. I'm not that high in Etienne personally, but the new situation, it scares me a little bit. Well, I'm definitely excited for him with the Saints, and Tyler Shuck is getting better and better. So yeah, we'll see what happens this year. We're not that high in him, but good player.
I think Kamara is going to 100% be this team's receiving back. I mean, what else would he really be used for? I mean, over these last years, he's only gotten less efficient and less efficient. So that's really all he's still great at, is being a receiving back, and that's something that Etienne really hasn't been good at these last couple of years. So I definitely think that Kamara is going to steal all the receiving work away from Etienne.
This young Saints offense, and it's only getting better. They felt the need to bring in a veteran, and Etienne to really boost this offense's floor. But they felt the need to bring back Alvin Kamara, and it kind of hurts Etienne's upside in a way. But I still think Etienne will be a solid RB2 for your fantasy teams. And I don't hate him, but I would have felt a lot better about it if there was no Alvin Kamara in his backfield.
Yeah.
In some leagues, he's getting taken around that mid-third, late-third round, which I just don't think that their value is really good on that pick, to be honest. I think he should be in that range of where Henderson and Demon are being drafted. He shouldn't be in that Javonte Kyron tier for sure, but he could be in that late tier, and he could definitely return value there. But if he's too early, I don't know. I don't know about that pick at all.
RB22 is DeAndre Swift. And Swift, his whole career, he's never finished outside of the top 24 back. So I definitely do think he's probably one of the safer options in this tier to be a top 24 guy. I mean, I think if you have the first overall pick and you wait till the 4-5 turn again to draft DeAndre Swift, I think that's perfectly fine and smart. I mean, nice safe guy to pair with one of those top tier running backs, and I think it's a good spot here for Swift. Not too low, not too high. All right, and our RB23 is Quinshon Judkins.
Now with Judkins, my only problem with Judkins is just the offense is so bad. Don't get me wrong with Judkins' talent, as I really love Judkins as a running back, But last year we saw he wasn't that efficient on the ground. He only had 3.6 yards per carry. He's going to get the majority of the early down work and goal line work, but the receiving work also isn't going to be his thing. They brought in Dylan Sampson in the draft last year to take a lot of the receiving work, and I expect that to be the exact same. He's also coming off a major injury. I don't think that'll affect him in not much of a way, but still a guy who's going to get early down work and goal line work on a bad offense. Not really a fan of him, but he can get by as your RB2.
When you're not a receiving back and you're not in a great offense, it really is harder to be a good fantasy option. Judkins here is in this Browns offense, doesn't get much receiving work, and he's not going to score many touchdowns just because of how bad this offense is going to be this year. All right, and finishing off our RB24, we got Bayshaw Tootin.
So Bayshaw Tootin last year, he was a very solid backup running back to Travis Etienne last year. And now with all Liam Cohen's trust, as he's the RB1 in this Jacksonville team, I like him this year. It's a very good offense. He could definitely score those touchdowns, just like Travis Etienne did last year. So, I think this guy could definitely get in that top 18 range. He's getting drafted a little low right now in that like 60s, 70s range. So yeah, he can definitely return on value if he produces, gets the volume that he should get in this offense. Yeah, I mean, he definitely should do this.
I love Tootin. He's going to take this offense by like Etienne did in a way. And Liam Cohen has trusted him a lot. As we've seen his camp starting up, we'll see who's going to run with the ones more, Chris Rodriguez or Tootin. But I truly expect Tootin to get early down work, receiving work, and the goal line as the season goes on.
And one thing I really like with Tootin is that Chris Rodriguez right now is going really late in drafts. So if you're scared that Chris Rodriguez could end up being this team's RB1, just take Tootin and Rodriguez, and you're a lock for this Jaguars team's RB1 in this great Liam Cohen scheme.
Exactly.
I seriously think that Chris Rodriguez is not gonna put up a fight with Tootin in this training camp. That's my, I guess, hot take.
I agree.
But I think he's definitely gonna be that RB1 come September.
All right, guys, thanks for watching our updated running back lists. We hope to bring you out more ranking videos throughout the season. Training camp just started today. Awesome football season is right around the corner, and we're just trying to help you guys win your league and win some money this year in fantasy. Let's do it. Like, subscribe, keep following us along for the journey. Fantasy football, baby. It's right here.
Let's go.
Hope you guys enjoyed.